And we are now live.
Welcome back, everybody, to the MuscleCarsAndTrucks.com Gears and Beers show.
Woo-woo.
Manny, Chris, we're here again. We're here to talk about some awesome car stuff.
Awesome.
We are live, and we are happy to another time. Happy it's Friday. So, as usual, let's do the round table here of what everybody's drinking. Chris, start with you.
I got something special tonight. I stopped at the store right before here.
It's not Founders Big Luscious?
No, it's not Big Luscious. But it is something by Founders. And it is 11.2%. It's called Bottle Shop Nemesis.
Whoa.
Oh, that name is cool.
The
label's cool.
This is a barley wine styled ale with roasted malts and lots of hops with a pleasant, bitter, booming flavor. 11.2%.
Well, I guess Chris is going to be slurring by the end of the show.
Let's hope so.
Chris, what style is it exactly? I might have missed it.
Barley wine.
What's barley wine?
Have you had? I've had barley wines. They're really good for cellaring, so you can keep them in your basement for years.
Oh, gotcha. Chris, have you had that before?
I have never. It's brand new.
Wow. Make sure you brush your teeth after that because it'll sting the crap out of them.
Very malty, very, very biscuity, very heavy, kind of sweet.
Interesting.
When Chris said that it's hoppy, you don't hear that very often about barley wines.
Right. Yeah, right. Huh. Manny, what you drinking, buddy?
No. You first. I
Me?
think. Yeah.
I'm a captain in Coke, or in a lot of cases, captain in Vernors. I love captain in Vernors. If you know what Vernors is, if you're from the north, and I can only get here in Tennessee, I can only get Vernors in one place, and that's Publix.
Really?
Because and Vernors and Captain taste like cream soda, and it's good in both cold and warm months. So a friend, I was over at my neighbor's house. He's a musician, and so we always go over to his place because he's always cool. And another friend of ours came out, and apologies for the echo. I don't know if it's me or not. When I'm done talking, I'll disconnect and I'll reconnect and see if we can fix that. But he brought over another neighbor. We were sitting around campfire, and he brought over this, and this is called. I'm probably not even going to say it right because I'm new to it, but it's Bumbu, Bumbu, B-U-M-B-U. And I was never a sipping rum sort of guy, but I just did some rum sipping on this when he brought it over, and I really, really liked it. So instead of beer tonight, I'm going to do a little bit of high-end rum sipping. It's got some natural caramel flavor into it, and it's a little stiff, but it's also very, very smooth. So
interesting.
And I'm going to drink it out of the rock glass that my boss got me for Christmas in like a little gift bag. Because I really, really like my boss, and I think it's good. That's a good thing when you like your boss, right? Right.
I like my boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are your boss?
So
that's me, Manny. What you drinking, my friend?
I picked up something special from a brewery that I haven't had in a while, but they're so good and they're so experimental that I couldn't resist pulling it off the shelf, even though. It's like $14 for a 4-pack. Whatever, special, once in a while, why not? So, Evil Twin Blue Raspberry.
Ooh, I would love to try that.
Blue Raspberry, really good.
It's a sour. It's a sour IPA, and this.
Never mind.
Oh, look at that!
It looks like St. Patty's Day, like green beer.
Does it
looks like Exorcist puke?
Taste the blue raspberry in it?
It's not. Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, that's good.
I believe so. It's a sour IPA with raspberry flavor.
Boss, if you're watching this, here's to you. I appreciate you.
It's very raspberry flavored.
Because my boss is a subscriber to my channel, which we're streaming this on until
Jason's Garage.
And in Jason's Garage, and I'm happy to host it until we get enough subscribers on the Muscle Cars and Trucks YouTube channel to stream directly from there. So please go over there and subscribe to the Muscle Cars and Trucks YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. Let's see what else. Okay. I encourage everybody to try to keep up, because we are going to do rapid fire stuff. And if we touch on a topic that you want to know more about, we're going to remind you with every topic that you've got to head over to musclecarsandtrucks.com to get the full details of it. And there's plenty of details. I mean, Manny, you and the writing team banged out 20 articles, 30, 40 articles in the past week. I don't even know.
At least 40.
Yeah. So we can't cover them all tonight. We're going to cover the highlights, and we're going to cover the highlight details of those and move on to the next. So we're going to keep it moving, and you're really going to enjoy it. But by all means, if you got any questions and you're watching this live right now, hit us up in the, well, it depends on where you're looking, but hit us up in the chat, and we'll try to answer them there. But if not, then leave a comment in the article itself. We love to address comments and questions from the folks. So, Manny, let's start out with the hotness of musclecarsandtrucks.com. What's the new stuff going on?
So, just as a precursor, this week is, quote, Mustang Week. And April 17th, 1964, the Ford Mustang was introduced at the World's Fair in New York. And it's been nearly 60 years. And Ford has always been able to celebrate this week in some way. This week being no different. There was no shortage of Mustang content on Muscle Cars and Trucks this week. And one of the big stories from this week involving the Mustang is that it once again took the global sales crown for best-selling sports car.
What's a sports car?
What's a sports car? Well, a muscle car is a sports car. A Corvette is a sports car. A Porsche 911 is a sports car.
What sport? Tennis? Bowling? What?
Yeah, I see where you're going with that.
This is a throwback from the podcast days where I used to hate the term sports car.
I suppose it's better than athlete car.
How about
rolls off the tongue?
Performance car? It performs. It's not a sport. That's right, sport. That's just me. Anyway, and Manny, please continue.
You're right though. It is a performance car in any case, but even though like sales were overall struggling last year because of the pandemic and ongoing into now for different reasons, the microchip shortage affecting it more so than the pandemic, but it's still kicking butt. It sold 80,577 units last year. And in terms of market share, however they want to divvy that up and however they want to whatever vehicles they want to include, 15.1% of the sports coupe market. That's actually up in market share. So down in sales, up in market share. And the most popular market for the car was actually like as far as state, Texas, 8,600 sales alone, Texas, and then California, being that it's so populated, right, 6,200, and then Florida, another 5,800. So highly populated states, convertibles all around like popular areas. So you probably also have like rental companies buying the typical EcoBoost or at the time they had the V6 convertibles. They don't make V6 Mustangs anymore, believe it or not.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah. In fact, my neighbor, he's a Ford guy. I talk to him all the time, almost every day. He's a good dude, and we were talking about that. There's no 6-cylinder. It's the Turbo 4 or the V8. Mm-hmm. There's probably a lot of secretaries buying Mustangs too. That probably contributes to it. Remember that?
I always wanted something we always talked about on the Camaro Show podcast was I would always love to know how much of those sales are fleet sales, because there's a ton of Mustangs that go to fleet.
You really have to be on the inside to have. They have the data, they just don't share it.
Right.
I wouldn't either.
Well, right. Well, they're just only in like if you bother to if you're an analyst and you happen to catch Jim Farley or Mary Barra or Carlos Tavares in a quarterly earnings call, you might have the chance to ask them, and they might answer if they actually knew that. But
but even then, then if you release that information, unemployment line. So, but it's Chris, you raised a good point. There's a segment of those sales that makes up for I'm sorry, there's a good chunk of the rental and fleet that makes up those overall sales. But if they're selling cars and they're making profit, how can they go wrong?
You got to think too with the Mustang taking the global sales crown. Like that also means it's selling in Europe, and I always found Europe to be a very fascinating like sales statistic for the Mustang in particular, because they actually discontinued the EcoBoost Mustang in Europe.
Right.
And it's like, this is a place that has some of the most, stringent fuel economy regulations, the biggest, like some of the heaviest taxes on if you want something more than 2 liter displacement, let alone cylinder count. And people just wanted the authentic V8 engine, the proper cylinder count for a muscle car. And, just think that like the EcoBoost was designed to be the global Mustang, and the Europeans don't want it. So Netherlands sales for Mustang up 38.5%, Denmark up 12.5%, Czech Republic up 5.6%, and Hungary we're up almost 70%. And you got to think that's pretty much all V8 Mustang. Incredible.
Really?
Yeah. So I just I love hearing that, the V8s for dinosaurs, people don't want V8s and blah.
They've been saying that for years.
It's weird. It's weird how removed the opinions of a lot of, I want to say like mainstream automotive media has gotten, because it's just like you look around and you just see like at SEMA, right? You see the 250,000 people that go to SEMA, and it's funny because you hear all these same people just dreading. They was like, I don't want to go to SEMA, and it's just like, oh, sorry, like there's no like private access, like event for you with free shrimp cocktails, and you have to actually rub shoulders
Used
with
to be.
Yeah.
Used to be.
It's just
I don't
weird.
know, I don't know what
like,
SEMA's going to look like post-pandemic. So,
to kind of keep that ball rolling, they want to do the show again in November, but at the rate things are going, I don't see 250,000 people going to SEMA.
Oh God, no.
No,
I hope not.
Can you imagine? Here's what I've always thought. If you have to abide by CDC guidelines with 6 feet social distancing, can you imagine the line to get into the convention center?
Sorry, Jason, not to cut you off.
No.
What if it was like
say the same thing? Yeah.
What if it was like what they could do something like alphabetical? Like, okay, if you're like A through L and then M through Z, like you're here between here, like this day and then next day. I might be able to cut things in half, but still, I don't. Yeah.
As soon as they get in the door, they're gonna smash together again because some a-hole's got to stop and take a picture of a car that he can get a professional photograph online, but he's got to take a picture of it with his snappy camera or whatever.
If I was in charge of SEMA, so like the show it goes from like Sunday to Friday, right?
Right.
Most of the time, like OEMs are like people from Chevy Performance and Ford Performance and stuff like that. At least the big wigs, like they're in and out in like a day.
Yep.
But I think because the show is like so long, you could be like, okay, well, if you're A through G, like Monday's your day. If you're H through L, like Tuesday's your day. L through P, like you get Wednesday.
Yeah.
On and on, all the way to Z.
But it's hard to do because it takes Chris and I. Well, not Chris. Chris goes there and then he looks around and goes, "Yeah, cool cars," and then he goes and gambles. It takes me. It takes me a couple of days to get through to see what I want to see. Here's what I would do if it was me. I'd get tighter. I'd go back to being tight on, are you in the industry or can you just use Photoshop to make a business card that makes it look like you're in the industry? Are you just an enthusiast or are you in media or in a manufacturer or are you a shop? If you're not one of those three, don't even bother. Get out. They should do that because there's too many enthusiasts there that are there because it's fun and they like it. Instead of people that are actually
they already opened Pandora's box. They can't close it.
They can. They could get away with it maybe for like this year, but the the enthusiasts, like they do everything for the enthusiasts, the displays, the activations. It's not for someone who wants a performance shop.
Yeah, but that's why it's not a car show. It's a trade show, and they lost sight of that. And then when Chris and I and you go to that show to try to cover something for MuscleCarsAndTrucks.com, for CamaroZ28.com back in the day, for the Camaro show a couple of years ago, for my channel in Jason's Garage that you're watching right now, we can't because there's some a-hole that has to stop 50,000 people behind him to take a picture of a car. Get out.
I get used to it. Get off my lawn. Why don't you?
I know.
Just say it, Jason.
Don't even start me on that.
All right, we got to move on to the next topic.
We do. Thanks for that, Chris. Thanks for that. But you know what, SEMA, if you're an enthusiast, get out.
Let's talk about Reeves Callaway. Man, you think he's a huge fan of electric vehicles?
So a bit more trickling out from the Reeves Callaway interview that we had last month. Of course, I had to ask him how do you feel about GM's pivot to electrification and Callaway being exclusive to General Motors at the moment, and the sort of relationship that company has with GM. It's it could be the way Roush has with Ford, but it's not to that level. But it could be, because Callaway is like the only company that will run a factory warranty with all the performance upgrades.
What about SVE?
I think SVE. I think with like vehicles like the Yenko, I'm pretty sure that SVE has to run its own warranty package.
Oh, their own, like almost like secondary warranty package.
Yeah. Okay. So like Callaway, like they only bump horsepower numbers like ever so. So like a Camaro SS gets a supercharger package, good for 640 horsepower. Dollar for dollar, it's horsepower for dollar. It's one of the best deals you can get. There are a few others out there like Lebanon Ford, which is a dealership I believe in Ohio, can actually beat that because like again, Roush will give you a turnkey supercharger package for your Coyote V8. Super easy to just add power and not really have to worry about too much cost. But that said, like we're talking factory warranty, like your Camaro, like when it as good as it was for 450 horsepower, still good for 640 horsepower with the Callaway. Yeah. So that's a huge testament, or 610, I think it's 610, whatever. Huge testament to the quality of you get from that company. Ultimately, with GM going electric, you're looking at completely turning the shop upside down. Should you ever be lucky enough to be able to work on, say, like the Hummer EV or something down the line, like some of the Cadillacs or, the potential electric Corvette SUV that's been rumored, or even the Corvette hybrid variants. If you want to go back, we're expecting Corvette E-Ray, which will have the LT2 V8 in the back and then two electric, motors in the front, powering the front wheels, be all-wheel drive hybrid Corvette. So it's like, considering that Callaway and most other, even of high reputation performance shops, don't really have a lot of experience with electric vehicles. So it's like, it just seems like a big undertaking or even a big risk to follow the OEM into that direction, rather than just being like, you know what, let's just fine tune and tweak and work on like ICE engines for as long as we can. Before like the overhead of electric vehicles and there's enough technicians and the tools become cheaper, processes become more manageable, X, Y, and Z, right? But he's just like, he tells me, he's like, I'm a big fan of electric vehicles.
That's cool.
So, he says that it makes so much sense to make a high performance electric vehicle simply because of the way the power is generated, and how you have max torque at 0 RPM. And, to his point, that's the benefit of electrification. There are trade-offs, but there are no, I don't know if Thomas Sowell said it originally, but there are no solutions. There's only trade-offs. So
that's something to remember.
It's something to remember. but that said, like, you know, I've got a Mach-E outside right now, a Mustang Mach-E, and it's
wait, you do?
Yeah, till Monday.
Did I know this?
I just got it today.
Well, shoot, man, let's move on to that. Let's talk about that a little bit.
I was going to hold it to the end, but
well, you can't dangle the carrot and all that right now. Let's do it right now. Let's talk about it.
Okay, well, I guess in terms of what Callaway said, that's kind of the gist of it, right? Like he doesn't mind seeing GM move in that direction. I think his company will follow it. He likes the idea of Corvette going electrified, things like that. And besides, like, you know, GM is actually making some fun looking electric vehicles with the Hummer, you know, Corvette Zora kind of like waiting in the wing. And, you know, if they can get like a performance SUV done right, like electric Corvette SUV, I think that's going to be really cool. Plus, you got electric Silverado that's been confirmed, things like that. So there's a lot of opportunity to work on electric vehicles for electric performance. But, you know, GM has to let people in. They have to let people actually access those control units. They actually have to let people be able to reflash, reprogram, and work on the new lineup of vehicles should they ensure the viability of the aftermarket going forward. If they don't, it's going to be an absolute apocalypse. Anyway,
so Mach-E, tell me about it. What do you think of it? Initial impressions.
This is not the first time that I actually got to drive the Mach-E. I got to sample it, I think last November, just before the holidays. And I'm a huge fan of that thing because, like, say you've got $40,000 to $50,000, right? The performance on the Mach-E. Well, I mean, ATP is higher than gross median income right now in America. So, you know, people have the money. And they always dangle the little carrot of like, oh, we'll give you a $7,500 incentive. If you're in California, it's even more. You know, people buy $45,000 pickup trucks all day and night, so why not, you know, $45,000 SUV? And for the money, and like imagine buying like this, or say like a $45,000 Chevy Blazer. That thing all day, every day, because it's just. Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, because you got to think, a lot of the times, you know, those sort of like mainstream, like high volume vehicles, like Equinox, like Blazer, like Ford Edge, like the Toyotas, all the Toyota utility vehicles. There's nothing really inherently special about the engine or the transmission. Like, it's just a thing. It's just an engine and a transmission. Like, here you go, off, you know, like, bye. And so, like, I think because of that, like, you might as well just it's kind of like the most logical and the safest avenue to electrify. So in the case of the Mustang Mach-E, you know, you get all that SUV utility, really, but you get the benefit of just this sort of like it feels like, you know, people like Rogan, for example, like he's got a Tesla Model S, and he's like, I feel like I'm driving the future, and it's like,
shut up, Joe.
It's like, yeah, exactly. Well, you know, he's trying to keep his relationship with Elon Musk really good, but whatever. Yeah. I think that, you know, when I drive an electric vehicle, and I had 2 volts, right, and Chris, you had one as well.
Yep.
And it's very, I don't want to call it the future, but it is different. And like, if you just want like something fresh, it feels fresh. It feels like a change of pace. It feels like, you know, I've gotten more looks with that Mach-E and just today, you know, than I probably did with the GT500 I had last summer. That's a GT500.
You need to come over here, Manny, so we can shoot some TikTok.
Yeah. Get over to Chris's house, and Manny, come over to my house. Will you bring that over here?
Okay. I'll have to flatbed it to your house, but you know,
it's only an 8-hour drive. It's no big deal. So here's the thing: you got the car when?
Like not even 12 hours ago.
Okay, and you got to give it up when?
Monday morning.
So you're going to crank out how many articles between Well, when it either between now and then or when it's done. How many articles can our watchers and viewers expect to see?
It was given to us in light of Mustang Week. We're actually attending a Mustang like drive rally tomorrow from Corktown, where the train station is, to the Ford Garage restaurant in Dearborn. So quick jaunt tomorrow morning. And there's going to be quite a few Mustang executives, marketing people, engineers, those kinds of things. So we're going to spend most of our time talking about the Mach-E with those Ford subject matter experts. And we're going to see what we can get them to say.
That's cool.
That would be cool, man. That would be really cool. I'm glad you got to do that because I've been curious about the Mach-E quite a bit.
It's fantastic. It is true. Like they're like it's a Mustang. Well, to me, I don't think it's a Mustang. And my girlfriend, I gave her a ride just before we hopped on the show. She's like, "Well, this isn't a Mustang. It's not a muscle car." And it's like,
that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, exactly. But like, at the end of the day, I think, first of all, it's kind of weird that it took, Ford and, even like GM with what I think they're going to do with Corvette. The rumor is, anyway, what they're going to do with Corvette, that it took these companies so like 20, 30 years to realize that, oh, you can take one car, build this massive brand cachet around it. Like they're not even brand cachet, just cachet around that car, that nameplate, that Mustang, Corvette, Camaro, and
Ram,
and yes, exactly. FCA did it with Ram perfectly, but the one that really was the catalyst to and that laid the foundation, the blueprint to how you should do it is Porsche, because Porsche, you got to think, over 70 years ago, started as basically it was an upgraded Beetle, right?
Volkswagen, yeah.
Yeah, it was an upgraded Beetle, and then it sort of morphed from like the 356 into the 911, and then from the 911 you spawned like the 944 and the 928. You had three cars. You had like the hypercar projects, and then you had the race cars, and so like it slowly just sort of built out from what was just one car. And then the Cayenne came. You remember the Cayenne, early 2000, the first one. It was ugly.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's like, Porsche truck.
What are they doing? This is so stupid. Yeah, it's bullshit. Like, this isn't a
look
Porsche.
At it now.
You think that Porsche is worse off because they have the Cayenne and the Macan? Hell no.
Hell no.
It's the most obvious thing to do is to maintain your like stay true, right? Like Porsche isn't discontinuing the 911. They're not quitting racing. They're not they're not going to stop doing cool projects like the 918 Spider and other just like radical builds, things like that. But it's a lot of that is made possible because the Cayenne and because the Macan. And so like you kind of look at this and one, if it wasn't called the Mustang, people wouldn't bat an eye. You kind of look at this like the Chevy Bolt phenomenon, right? Like no one cared. No one. Even the Bolt was just refreshed. They just announced, the EUV, and as far as I'm concerned, that thing can't hold a candle to the Mustang. The Mustang is like standard rear wheel drive, all wheel drive optional. You got the GT version coming out in the summer. It's got over 600 pound-feet of torque. It's an athletic car to drive, and to me, it actually reminds me of the Focus RS in a way.
Really, that's interesting.
Because
here's a question, man.
Yeah.
Should it be called the Mustang or should it be called the Pinto? Okay, next article.
Next article. Well, I mean, I think they were smart. They were smart in calling it the Mustang. They
brought back the Pinto name. You think so? Do you really think so?
So okay, like Chris, not to jump, but since you're talking about Pintos, Ford does want more sub brands. They want more sub brands. So what does that mean?
Pinto.
What does that mean? Like, and I it was Jim Farley himself Jim Farley himself said to Elisa Priddle, who's the last good journalist at Motor Trend, that there's, quote, so much opportunity, and, quote, we have a plethora of ideas and passion and brands in the company, so many in Europe and the US, we run deep, so I don't think we're going to stop with basically Bronco and Mustang. So, I mean, what are they going to do? Bring back the Edsel, the Thunderbird, the Galaxy?
Not the Thunderbird again. Yeah, that went over pretty well back.
Late 90s. They did file for their Thunderbird trademark.
Again? Oh, boy.
Yeah, recently. We wrote about this late last year or early this year. I can't. It's all blurring at this point. But
my mom's very first car was a Maverick. I never thought I'd see it come back, much less come back the way that it did.
So the Maverick, I'm really excited for that. I drive a small truck, and I see the utility in them. I see just like it's a pragmatic thing to have. You know, people like they like the size of the half tons and the fact that they're super capable in terms of what they can haul and tow these days. But like, who really is going to tow 11,000 pounds? You know, often, right? Like, it's just a. I'm not going to stand in the way and just be like, don't buy a half-ton truck, because I think for some people there's a lot of other reasons why. Like, they're fairly cheap to insure. You know, they're easy to find. They're easy to service. You know, dealers have a great infrastructure for them, and you know, like, for a lot of ways, like they're built well. They're built really well.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to tell you not to buy a half ton.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's not forget to tell. I can't wait to see the articles about the Mach-E come out. So when that's done, I can't wait to see it. It's going to show up on musclecarsandtrucks.com. It's going to show up in the daily 10-second newsletter that everybody needs to subscribe to.
Subscribe.
You're sharing your screen right now. That is never a bad statement. That says never miss out on American muscle cars, trucks, and SUV news. You're going to get that every day in your inbox for free, and it's going to be able to be read in 10 seconds or less when you're, as I say, in my own other little office first thing in the morning. That's usually when I read that news. What I do is I fire up that newsletter, the Muscle Cars and Trucks 10-second newsletter, check out and see what I might have missed the previous day. I can't wait to see the stuff that you're going to come out with about that Mach-E. So the question is, with the Mach-E and the Maverick and that Hyundai Santa Cruz that I actually kind of like, and everything else, we talked about the Camaro before, hitting a chip shortage, but apparently the Ford F-150 Raptor is fine. Why?
For one, the Ford F-150 Raptor isn't out yet.
That would explain everything.
But you have to think with the, you know, loaded context, right? So you got to think F-150 production is halted. So like Ford just launched the new F-150, I think late last year, got hit with a microchip shortage, and leading up to this point too, they had some other issues. They had a stop sale. There's some of the trucks were rusting, and so like it for Ford, you know, since the Explorer in 2019, they've been really busy, and they haven't been able to have like a single just no faults easy launch. Like the Explorer was a mess. F-150 is turning out to be a bit of a mess. The Bronco, should it ever arrive, right? Like
the big Bronco, not the Sport.
Yeah, big Bronco. I don't know how Bronco Sport is actually doing in terms of the launch, but I'm seeing them everywhere. I'm
starting to see them around town. Yeah.
Seeing them everywhere.
Even down here in Nashville.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So the global semiconductor microchip shortage is affecting, as you said, like it's vehicles like the Camaro, and GM has to sort of like budget its ration of semiconductors to its more profitable vehicles, right? It's got to go to the SUVs, it's got to go to the trucks. Some of the trucks are actually, and this is funny because like people don't actually like this feature, but I think the 5.3 liter V8s are not being built with active fuel management or dynamic fuel management right now. And that just means that they don't shut off the cylinders. Well, it turns out that the cylinder shut off system is kind of a mess for NVH, and it actually like over time, like it messes up the engine. People don't want it. It's just, again, it's a fuel economy game. It's a response to legislation, really. It's a very it's a policy driven feature. It's not a market driven feature. And keep that in mind at all times as vehicles move towards electric. But anyway, the Raptor is supposed to come out by the fall. Supposed to. So like it's still, it's being validated and everything. They revealed it already. Orders are supposed to happen in the next couple of weeks.
How much is this monster going to cost, by the way?
They haven't announced pricing yet. But
what do you think it's going to be?
About the same as the outgoing Raptor, because the TRX.
We talked about this before, didn't we?
Yeah, the TRX it's in the 70s, but it's also 702 horsepower. The Raptor, the base Raptor keeps the 3.5 liter EcoBoost. It's not going to match the TRX outright in horsepower. That is assumed to be for the Raptor R. So you're going to have the base Raptor, and you got to think, because you're not going to have a supercharged V8 on the hood, you still got the EcoBoost V6. You're gonna have to come down on that price. You're gonna have to separate yourself from the TRX on a pricing strategy, because you're not going to beat them in horsepower. So leave that for Raptor R to kind of like meet the TRX with a supercharged V8. The rumor is Predator, so the GT500 engine, 5.2 liter supercharged V8. Oh yeah, and in that application, in the application of the GT500, you're looking at 670 horsepower or something like that. I can't even remember.
It's
stupid.
Really spooky.
It's crazy, stupid numbers. And then you got to think, well, okay, Ram still has another ace in the sleeve, and early on, before the TRX was even like announced, and they were catching. So Silver Lake Sand Dunes in Michigan, right? It's about 4-hour drive from Detroit. Massive state park, the biggest, and kind of the only sand dune ORV park east of the Mississippi. It's a very unique place, and it's huge. And it's like there's the hiking section, but then there's just exclusive to trucks and ORVs, and it's one of the coolest places, right off of Lake Michigan. And the rumor was that when FCA took TRXs up there to test, a couple of them were fitted with Demon and Red Eye engines.
Awesome.
So should the F-150 Raptor R come out with 755 horsepower, 760 horsepower, and leapfrog the 702 horsepower of the Ram TRX, TRX will come back and just be like, well, we got 790 horsepower with the Red Eye, and potentially a Demon V8 in the Ram. So
that is absolutely stunningly nuts. I can't believe it's truck wars. It's truck gang.
The horsepower wars. The horsepower wars have very much like, and I think the muscle car customer too has kind of moved into trucks and moved into off-road SUVs like Bronco and Wrangler. So it's it absolutely has eroded the muscle car market. But like when the Jeep marketing guys were telling me that their number one conquest vehicles for the Wrangler were the Camaro and the Mustang, as well as the F-150, it's like that. Just you piece it all together and you start to realize that it's like that Mustang customer is the Jeep customer, is the Raptor customer, and they're all that same sort of like demographic. Even though that like on paper, you're just like, oh well, he's going to be cross shopping his Camaro with a Challenger. It's like, no, he's crossing his Camaro with a Wrangler Rubicon.
It's weird. It's pretty weird.
I understand.
We do have to move on to the next article, but there's a tremendous amount about this that's always coming out on muscle cars and trucks, as we talk about.
Okay.
Manny, what else is going on? What else has been going on this past week? What's the other next hot news? This one here?
So GM had a good March. You're seeing, despite microchip shortages and everything as we discussed, they're doing a great job in selling their new vehicles. So the C8 Corvette was once again, I think, the third month in a row, fastest selling vehicle in America.
Really weird, man.
Well, demand is so hot, and their Corvette is another, like, that's a vehicle that's been struggling out of the gate too. Like they're struggling to meet like demands for accessories, options, things like that. So like the 21 Corvette just dropped 2 paint colors, Zeus Bronze and Sebring Orange, but they got the high wing spoiler back. So there's this constant just like mix turning in and out for Corvette just to meet demand. And Bronco is actually dealing with a similar issue too. They're dealing with supplier issues, COVID related, ended up delaying the launch. It was supposed to be out by now. Now it's happening in June. And then it said, well, if you ordered I believe it was a hardtop Bronco, if you ordered a hardtop Bronco 2-door, you're not going to get it until 22 model year now. So it's just this like, well, let's just get what we can get out the door. And then, if you, for everyone else, tough shit, right? So
what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
Oh man.
So there's a website called IC Cars, clever name, and they did a study, analyzed over 1.5 million new and used car sales last month, and found that basically that both new and the used cars started selling at a faster rate than they did the month before, and it required on average just 47.4 days to turn for new cars. And then used cars are actually moving even faster, 39.4. And again, like I've always kind of been looking at the used car market because new cars are just too expensive. So that used car market is going to, again, that's inflating the prices because everyone can't afford a new car. So they're going after used cars. And then then you kind of like looking at hoopties now are $3,000, $5,000. It's like, what's going on here? So, anyway, but yeah, GM took a lot of top 10 spots. Escalade and Yukon were also in the top 10. And so they're killing it with the SUVs. They're killing it with the Corvette. They're killing it with, what the icons. They're killing it with what people have always identified the GM products with the strongest. You think GM, you think big Texan built SUVs, you think Corvette. So, and you think trucks too. But there's so many trucks that you're not really worrying about them.
They're going to saturate again. That's what I think is going to happen. They're going to overdo it again.
With the SUVs and the trucks, and you're going to hit a gas crisis and it's over. You're probably right. But here's the book Overhauled. I think I don't know if I told you this quote. I believe his name was Stephen Ratner. Wrote the book Overhauled, and he was actually part of the bailouts from 2009. He's got a quote in the book from Barack Obama that says something like, "Why can't GM just build a Honda Civic?" Which means or something like a Honda Civic. I'm like, well, this is how out of touch you got to think that most people are with the actual product offerings that GM, Ford, and Chrysler had. They had economy boxes. They had small cars. They had efficient cars. In some cases, class-leading, efficient cars. It didn't matter. People just, for the American cars, American car companies, since the 70s, have been pigeonholed into being, good for size and good for trucks. So it only makes sense to me that SUVs and trucks and also the pony cars have always resonated with the American buyer and even the global buyer. Again, you look at the European, they're they know, Chevrolet, Silverado, Corvette, Camaro, Ford, F-150, it's just, they don't care about the Equinox. They don't care about you buy an Equinox because you got a deal. Like no one cares about new glass. Like,
Yeah.
and so like, but and then on the flip side, when the OPEC oil embargo happened in the early 70s, you had the coastal import brands from Europe on the East Coast and then Japan on the West that were making tiny, frugal, cheap, highly efficient cars that were perfect for that gas crisis.
Yep.
So let's move on.
I actually emailed this guy, talked with him. Well, not him, but his PR team. Probably I'd say a year or two ago. This guy has some stones.
Oh yeah.
Go out, get in your Mach-E, and start driving around and just close your eyes and keep them closed until you get home. This guy is awesome. I give him all the credit in the world. He wants to be the fastest blind guy in the world is really what it comes down to, right?
What are you, blind?
Well,
Wow.
this guy is, man, and this guy is really cool. He lost his eyesight in a tragic drag racing accident, and I think I saw the footage. I think you can find on YouTube where he could have lost his life, but instead of just like they say, make lemonade from lemons.
Yeah,
and he did that, and he's like, I'm not going to give up racing. To race blind is scary to me just to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's awesome. I more power to him, and he's driving a C6 Corvette. So
yeah, Dan Parker.
Kind of like that. Kind of crazy.
It looks like a Z06 there, Jason.
It may very well be.
It looks like
there's
a
probably
Z06.
nothing. There's probably nothing Z06 about
Yeah,
it.
nothing.
After the work that's been done, right?
Yeah.
But this dude, I bounced emails back and forth with their PR team because I wanted to actually try to interview him on my YouTube channel, and we just couldn't put things together. It's just how it works. I think it's because of his travel situation, and this was before COVID, and then COVID obviously killed everything. But
maybe we can send him an email. Maybe we can do Q&A on email.
That would be very, very cool. I think it'd be better suited to this show than my YouTube channel. That my in Jason's Garage stuff, my Corvette stuff.
Yes, his name's Dan Parker.
Yeah. We used to play this when we were really stupid, and teenagers driving, and we lived out in the country, so we could kind of get away with this. But we used to have. I can't even believe I'm going to say this. We used to have a little contest to see who could drive with their eyes closed the longest.
Oh my God.
We do like 15 miles an hour. And we're like, okay. And of course, the person in the passenger seat was like, oh my God, you're going towards the ditch. And then, I made you open your eyes. You were doing straight the whole time. But this guy's like trying to go as fast as he can with his eyes. 200.
Without the blind. Yeah. The blind record's 200.5.
That's got to be absolutely scary, man.
Where do you do that?
Salt Lakes. I got to think. I mean, when I used to ride snowmobiles, you could just on the ice, you just kind of just roam around as long as nobody's coming up behind you. It's great. It's like having the widest road in the world. So.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Bonneville makes the most sense. Yeah.
Yeah. We've got time for just 2 more articles before we do our casual wrap up, which I think is going to be a little bit fun just to talk about what we expect to happen in the next coming weeks in the automotive industry. So stick around for that if you're watching this. And by the way, if you are watching this and you haven't commented on the show, you can do it right now. Please do, especially on the YouTube channel. Love to hear what you have to say before we start to wrap. So, Manny, got like I said, got room for 2 more left in this week's episode. What's next up?
We can talk about how Dodge wants to build more SRT Durangos.
I actually skimmed that article probably about 2 hours ago, just after I got off work, because it's the fastest SUV in the world now, right?
It's not the fastest SUV in the world. There's a Bentley SUV that's actually faster. A Bentley SUV that actually hits 200 miles an hour or something like that, or 180 or something. Is it like, again, crazy number. It's not the fastest, but it is, I think, the fastest 3-row SUV.
Okay.
It's, I think, the quickest and the most horsepower. So there's a lot of still like best in class things, but the speed record eludes it for now.
Maybe I'm out of the loop, but what happened to the Grand Cherokee?
Trackhawk? They still build it. It's just right. the Durango SRT has a little bit more horsepower, 710. And I think it's just for some reason a little faster. Maybe because it's longer.
Boat tail effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like the CTSV wagon was faster than the CTSV coupe. That's probably why.
Yep.
All right. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So they were supposed to build just 2,000 units, but I guess dealers had more sold orders than inventory. So just to sort of like appease the customers who are, by the way, shelling out like close to $100,000 for this thing. You know, they start at 80. They start at 81. So if you option one out, which because it's a collector, people are going to option them out. These are collector SUVs, absolutely. And there aren't a lot of like collector performance SUVs. This is absolutely one of them. It's a 3-row muscle car through and through, and they're still only going to build it, I think, for like 6 months. They're just going to try to squeeze in more in this allotment. But in June, it's done. They're done building them.
Yeah. If they have more sold orders, they'll find a way to keep selling, keep making them. If they have more sold orders,
so there's a federal emissions footprint, blah blah blah.
Never mind.
Reason why they can't do that on this platform. I remember I was asking Tim Kaniskis, and everyone's like, "Oh, are Hellcat SUVs going away?" And he said, "No, it's just this generation can no longer support building them." So, and plus at the same time, you have the new Grand Cherokee being built, which is just launching. So it just makes sense for Stellantis, however you want, FCA Stellantis, whatever, to sort of like transition out the old generation, even though it's an awkward timing. Go out with a bang, eventually reintroduce a next generation Durango, assuming, and eventually build back up to a Hellcat version. Probably going to be an electrified Hellcat. Probably going to be some sort of hybrid Hellcat. By 2025, I believe Carlos Tavares, the CEO of Stellantis, said that almost the entire lineup is going to have some sort of electrified variant. So you got to assume that it's going to include the Challenger, the Charger, the Grand Cherokee, the Durango, whatever comes, like next generation versions of it.
Speaking of which, when is the next Grand Cherokee expected to drop for real?
Grand Cherokee?
The limited dropped, right?
The Grand Cherokee L, so that's the 3-row. They're starting with a 3-row for
right. The regular is what I'm thinking. The 2-row.
That's a 22 model year. So right now they're launching 21 Grand Cherokee L, and then they're going to roll out next year the 2-row, and they'll build them both simultaneously. They'll build them in Jefferson and Detroit.
Do you think there's going to be an SRT of the 2-row?
Oh hell yeah! Like yeah, hell yeah. Okay. It'll just, I mean, it just might be electrified. It might have some sort of mild hybrid system. And I think those
just like the E-Ray.
No, that's like full hybrid.
Ooh. I'm just having fun with the idea. OMG, YouTube thumbnail clickbait.
I still love your face on that video for April Fool's.
I'm gonna give myself the worst clickbait, stupid. I'm gonna pull the worst expression I could. It's typical clickbait. That would have been bad. Oh, yeah.
I hate car YouTube. It's so bad.
I hate clickbait a-holes on YouTube. I don't do that. I won't do that. OMG, I blew it up. Oh my God. Oh, just kidding. I just rebuilt my engine because I got all my truck bros over here helping me out rebuild my engine, and I've got like 1 million subscribers, and check out my cars and my fleets. That's me. I'm bitter. Sorry.
It's so bad.
I want to spend the last 5 minutes of the news talking about, if we could, and you could say no, Manny, you are the editor at large, the Santa Cruz.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay, great. Because I saw that, and I'm like, I saw
that, and I was like, what the?
I can see my wife trading in the 2012 Grand Cherokee that I gave her when I bought my Colorado. I can see her trading that Jeep in on one of those. It just looked cool. The numbers seem cool. All-wheel drive, 275 horsepower. That's fourth-gen Camaro LT1 stuff right there, Chris. It looks kind of good. It looks kind of good. It looks like it's a, you know what? To me, it looks like a Jeep, a little Jeep Grand Cherokee or Compass, God forbid, with a little truck bed in the back instead of the hatch.
I can see that.
That's what I saw when I first, like, if you stand back from 10 feet and you look at it, you're like, it looks almost like a little Grand Cherokee with the ass cut off.
I think they did a good job with it, and you got to. I don't know if you guys were at the Detroit Auto Show in 2015. They teased this truck.
Did they really? By then, I didn't care about Hyundai, but now that I get older, I think about Hyundai a little bit.
They did. I mean, I think Hyundai and Kia are eating Honda and Toyota's lunch, and they also, I think they have great design, and they like the fact that they were gutsy enough to do something like this. They're not even calling it a truck; they're calling it like a adventure lifestyle vehicle, some dumb name. Just call it a truck.
The Aztec that too.
Yeah, call it a truck, dude. It's a truck. But basically, this is the same sandbox that the Ford Maverick is going to play in, and it ironically, right, like Ford, the legendary truck builder, best-selling vehicle in America, 40 years in a row as a truck. Ford F Series. The Hyundai Santa Cruz is going to beat the Ford Maverick to market by, I think, like 1 month.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like Maverick is expected July. This is June.
Wow.
Yep.
Here's a question. You know what? When I read this article earlier yesterday. Was it yesterday when it was released? Even before. But I caught up on it, and
yesterday.
You got the Maverick, you got the Ridgeline, which is kind of not even in the same.
They killed it,
right?
Ridgeline.
Did they kill the Ridgeline?
Yeah, they killed the Ridgeline.
Okay, what do you think the odds are? Bear with me. Of Subaru bringing back the Brat.
The Brat.
Yep. I mean, look at the Maverick. Look at the Santa Cruz. It's a modern. They're both modern Brats.
Yep. There's a company in California too called Alpha, and they made an electric truck maker, and they made something called the Alpha Wolf, and
I saw this.
Yeah, cool thing. And that big like Isuzu LUV, Chevy LUV, Subaru Brat, like that looks really good. And yeah, electric. So there's a lot of electric truck or car companies now kind of like flocking to California because, you know, it's California. So
because everybody else is moving out. Since we were talking about Joe Rogan, but I got a friend that swears by Kia. Bought Kias, loves Kias. I'd never considered a Kia in my life, but now same goes for Hyundai. And then now I'll like be go to Walmart or shopping or whatever, and I'll be like, "What the heck is?
That's a Kia.
Kia. It's a good-looking car."
The Telluride, Kia Telluride.
Yeah, you just look at it like
Hyundai and Kia. Like it goes to show when you let the designers off the leash, what can happen.
Exactly. It's
fantastic,
got
fantastic design.
And like I can't deny it. It looks good. It's got character to it. It's it's Hyundai and Kia aren't the econo box little Yugo.
Yeah,
they're basically the modern Yugo for a little while in my
15 years ago, these things they were laughing stocks of the entire automotive community.
Yeah, and they said, yeah, okay, all right, great. You just keep on laughing while we keep on working, and that's exactly what they did.
Well, and the irony is this, man. They've only been in America for like what 20, 25 years, not even.
I don't know. It's scary.
And they've done this. Like if you. Like and you know GM and Ford and everyone, they've been around for over 100 years and they're still kind of like struggling in some aspects. It's like if you gave the Koreans that sort of timeline, they'll be on the moon.
Yeah, they will. Chris, what's your thoughts on all this? You've been rather silent, letting us banter back and forth. What do you think? Do you have any desire?
He's enjoying his barley wine.
I have never been a truck person. The only truck I've ever owned, and it's not really a truck, is a Trailblazer SS.
That is not even.
That's. It doesn't matter. You didn't own a truck. You own that. Like that's.
You talk Kia. You're talking Hyundai, and I'm like,
Hyundai.
No.
Hyundai. Hyundai.
And I have no interest whatsoever.
Hyundai Quando.
They're undeniably just. I don't know the numbers, but I have to assume that if you look at the trend line of their success and their sales, it's a steady.
I'm sure there's a market for that.
Just like Dodge selling Challengers, it's just super steady, man. But ever some slight growth.
It's kind of like how how Americans stereotype the American car makers, as I was telling you with like OPEC and stuff. I think the same goes for like all of the Asian automakers, right? So it's just like you were a Toyota customer, but now you're a Hyundai customer.
Yeah,
you like Hondas before, now you like Kias, and you're seeing this where sales and market share are dropping. Honda and Kia are taking off, and it's at the expense of the Japanese. So
hey, speaking of which, the Kia Stinger in the Stinger GT. I haven't heard much about that lately. Is it because I'm just not seeing that segment, or did it just not do as well as we thought it would? Because there was a time when people were saying that the Stinger was going to be like a competitor for performance, and did it just kind of?
It needs. I mean, I just think it's a little. I like maybe just under marketed. I haven't really seen any marketing for Kia, even at like enthusiast events. The resale value on the Stinger is atrocious. So
really?
Yeah. So that might be another thing that's kind of keeping buyers away. Quality is I don't know like it's Kia's first jab at a performance car. So, but again, like
don't count them out.
No, don't count them out. So, like by next go around, like they could be fighting Ferraris for all I know. Like they're gonna have a Genesis like Ferrari fighter.
Chris, get yourself a truck. You'll understand. Truck gang. You guys got to look up truck. You guys got to look up truck gang. It's hilarious.
Well, I mean, I do have a Blazer.
That's not a
no.
You need yourself.
No Manny's expression.
You need yourself a truck. Come on, get your truck. Come on. No, just kidding. I love having a truck. In fact, I just put a JMS throttle enhancer on my truck just earlier today. Holy crap, does that ever wake it up? Oh my gosh, the throttle is so rubbery on that thing, and I get the little knob, and I go from 0, which is stock, and I hit the gas, and the tack kind of goes, and then I turn up to 50, and I hit the gas, and it goes, boom. I'm like, oh, so what's the next thing I do? Crank that son of a bitch to 100, hit the gas, it goes, boom. I'm like, oh my God. I haven't had a chance to drive it because I just did it before the sun went down. But I tell you what, man, it's going to wake that truck up. The drive-by-wire is one of the greatest and one of the worst things to happen in modern vehicles. That's my solo.
The Colorado's just throttle by wire, not brake though, not brake by wire.
I don't know. I don't care about braking. I just like to go fast.
And on that,
we are out of time, gang. We are out of time. This has been a great episode, Manny. Thanks for drinking your Ecto Cooler with us.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like.
Ecto Cooler.
Bet you it doesn't taste like an Ecto Cooler though. Chris, things are warming up. Things are getting better, getting worse in the world right now. Look on the positive side. Cars are still doing great. We've got plenty to talk about, and there's plenty to write about. Manny and you and the editorial team are just bashing out articles like it means your life. And so thank you so much for that. I love seeing this new stuff come out. Sometimes it's off the wall, which is even better. Sometimes it's right down the line of what I would expect from any professional automotive journaling system. So having said that, what can we expect in the next week from musclecarsandtrucks.com?
Next week, we'll probably have some stuff about the Mach-E, at least revolving around the interviews. What else is happening next week? Got a couple of things from Chevy Performance.
Nice.
I've got
words for the first time.
I've got a few. Yeah, I just got a couple of. So like, I got maybe one more thing from Callaway. I've got something from Jeep, something from Chevy Performance. We're gonna have Mach-E stuff, and then whatever the week hits us with.
Yeah, and that's the thing is you guys got to be really fast at just picking up and moving along.
We're on our toes. Yeah, every day is different.
Keep up the great work. I love seeing the new stuff you guys put out. I love being able to banter with what you got going on. I think Chris and I both do. I mean, Chris and I have been doing this for years and years and years, over a decade of talking about car stuff. So having our voice,
me too.
Well, our voice, but your mind that goes our words out loud and your words on the screen, combine them together. Wonder Twin Powers, activate.
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet.
Another throwback. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into this episode of the Beers and Gears Show for MuscleCarsandTrucks.com. What did I miss?
Nothing. Gears and beers, beers and gears.
What did I say?
Beers and
Give
gears.
a cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Everybody have a
cheers.
safe and
Next
wonderful
week.
weekend.
Happy
Get out,
Hanukkah.
enjoy your cars, and watch MuscleCarsandTrucks.com for the latest automotive news. Don't read about